I'm Karen Sperling. This is a photograph by Scott Stulberg and the painting I did based on it using the Artistry Corel Painter Volume 4 brushes. In this video, you'll get a taste of all the new Volume 4 variants. My main idea with these new Artistry Corel Painter Volume 4 brushes was to be able to paint in a thick paint or impasto style. So I'll show you how these brushes accomplish this kind of style. I start by opening the photograph in Corel Painter and choosing File, Clone. This creates a copy of the original with computer mapping back to the source photo. That lets us use tracing paper and cloner brushes. I'm going to choose the first brush, the 01 Basic Cloner. I'm going to drag clockwise on the radial dial on my Wacom tablet, and I'm going to press the space bar and click and drag to maneuver in the image. And then I start to paint. And what this brush does is it puts down subtle brush strokes using the colors from the source photo. I'll raise the size slider a bit to paint with broader strokes. So you can see that I'm already getting thick impasto brush strokes. The second brush is a blender brush. It blends the strokes that I just painted. That's useful because you don't want to have uniform brush strokes. If they have some variation, they'll look more painterly. The third brush paints with the same kind of bristly strokes, only it lets you add color. So a good technique is to put down some brush strokes by picking up the colors from the original, blending, and then coming in and adding some color. I'll go back to the blender to blend what I just painted. The basic No-impasto cloner will pick up color from the source photo and paint without any impasto, making it a good choice to paint with on the skin. The fifth brush, the basic No-impasto blender, will blend what I just painted. The basic color No-impasto brush number 6 is useful for adding color. So I'll choose a color in the color panel and I'll paint the lips. Then I can go back to the blender and blend what I just painted. The seventh brush, No-impasto, no color, is interesting because it lets you add texture, but you're not adding color. So if you like the color that's already in the image, you can paint with the seventh brush and just add some texture to what's already there. This eighth brush called Highlights is cool. If you paint on something like lace, it emphasizes the areas of light and dark, so it gives you a nice three-dimensional look. This also works great on hair. This subtle cloner has less texture than the previous cloner. So if you want to paint based on the source photo in the painting with flatter paint, this is the brush to choose. The subtle blender will blend the results without texture. And the subtle color is a way to add color without texture. And I'll go back in and blend it. And this subtle impasto, no color, adds subtle brush strokes to what's already there. So you can either add more pronounced brush strokes with the number 7 brush, or more subtle brush strokes with the number 12 brush. The Splattery Cloner 1 brush is great for backgrounds. It's picking up the color from the background, and I'm able to paint with brush strokes with texture. Also, this brush paints in the direction in which you drag it. So if I drag it this way, the texture goes in that direction. If I drag it this way, that's the direction in which it goes. Whereas the Splattery Cloner 2 brush gives you a more random result. Then you have a blender that paints in the direction in which you drag, and a random blender for texture. And then there's also a color brush that you can use for adding texture that goes in the direction in which you drag, picking up color that you choose in the color panel, and also a color brush that paints in a more randomized fashion, providing texture. The flattener brush flattens texture where needed. Sometimes you put texture where you didn't mean to, so it will flatten the texture. Then this last step blender works this way. If you try to paint some of the texture out and still leave some color, the texture won't leave. But if you go File, Clone, it is possible now to blend out some of this texture. And that's a look at the Artistry Corel Painter Brushes, Volume 4 for painting thick brushstrokes, available at the artistrymag.com website. Thanks for watching. Happy painting!